Hey guys, hope you're doing well and are ready to continue to learn about how producers make their decisions. So before we start today's video, you have to be very clear on everything relating to total costs, what are the different kinds of costs, marginal cost, variable cost, and also revenue, total revenue, marginal revenue, price, and how we decide how much a producer in a perfectly competitive market produces. So make sure you're very clear on that. And in today's video, we're going to answer a very important question for our baker based on his inputs and outputs that he's selling. How much profit will he make? All right, so that's going to be the question we're going to be answering in today's video. First, before we get there, let's look at the formula. Profit is total revenue minus total cost. We can decompose both of these into their averages, P times Q minus total cost is ATC times Q. Right? So we can do that. We can then factor out the quantity, and then the equation for profit per unit becomes price minus ATC. That's how much profit a producer makes per unit sold times how much they sell gives you total profit. So that's an important formula that you should remember. And then as long as price is more than ATC, which means this number is positive, you'll be earning profits. And if this number is less than ATC, you will be earning a loss. So hopefully it's the former and not the latter. So just making sure. So the first thing before we look at anything relating to profit is you should know how to determine how much a producer should produce. So every producer is going to have costs, right? So they're going to have their average variable cost, they're going to have their average total cost, and also they're going to have their average fixed cost, but I'm not going to draw that because it's not very important right now. And then you're going to have your marginal cost. Make sure you identify the minimum of ATC and ABC before you draw your marginal cost curve, because that's where you have to cross it. And sometimes I make mistakes too. So if you identify the minimum before you draw MC, it'll make your life a lot easier. So I'll just pick a point. If price is this, we know since it's perfect competition, the price is fixed, right? The producer cannot change the price that they charge in this market. It also equals MR. That's also true in this market. So the first thing you're always looking for is where is MR equals MC. That's always the first thing you're looking for. That's right here. That tells you how much to produce. Now once you determine how much to produce, then you take it up to, in this case, ATC to see what your ATC is and therefore what your profits or losses are. So make sure you're very clear on this whole process. All right, so let's look at both cases. You have your ATC, you have your MC. I've dropped the other two lines because they're not as relevant for profit region. Then you have your ATC, MC, and price in that graph as well. And you have both scenarios, profits and losses. Again, don't forget, the first point you're always looking for is MR equals MC. So first thing you're looking for is how much to produce. That tells you by MRMC. Then you take this straight up to where you hit the ATC. And then when you take it up to the left vertical axis, that tells you your ATC. So now your price minus ATC tells you your profit per unit times how much you're selling, that tells you total profits. So this blue rectangle tells you your profit region. And similarly here, first thing you're always looking for is where is MC and MR equal. Don't ever try to figure out price before that. MC equals MR is here, you figure out your quantity. Now you take it up to your ATC, and that tells you your ATC. You're earning a loss, and then times the quantity, that's your loss. Now from the previous video, you should know that you might still continue to produce in this scenario where you're earning a loss as long as you're above your AVC and because you cannot recover your fixed cost in the short run. So and then one more thing to be careful, and then I'll have you do an example as well. Be mindful of this minimum point of ATC. Right? So this is the minimum point of ATC because that's where MC crosses ATC. That's not where your ATC is. So if this number on the vertical axis is $2 and this number is 2.5, your average total cost of producing this quantity is 2.5, not where you're crossing the minimum. That's something students often get very confused on, and you lose points because you're not drawing it correctly. So I'm going to explain this, and you should try doing it on your own. If this is a competitive market, the key that tells you this is that price equals MR, and it's horizontal. That's not going to be the same in the future chapters. So I've told you what the price is, I've told you what the quantity is, and then consequent ATC. Figure out what the firm's profit is going to be. So hopefully you worked it out and not just looking at the answer. The profit is $4 per unit. So for each unit sold, this competitive firm produces, for each unit sold, this firm is going to be making a profit of $4 per unit times 50 units, which gives you a total profit of 200. So make sure you're able to graph it without any numbers like I did on the previous slide, and also are able to do this numerically. So hopefully you're very clear on how to calculate profits on a graph as well. And this is a very important part of this whole graphical process where you're putting together costs and revenues and price and figuring out how much to produce, how much to charge, and then consequently what your profits are. So we are getting to, to a point where it's very interesting for businesses to realize what they should be doing and whether they're earning a profit or not. So hopefully you understand this, and we'll continue with this topic in the next video.